are some things that act like barriers to kids being willing to do chores and being willing to be active in the house. And I'm gonna tell you what they are so you can knock them over. I'm back, and I am Rachel Norman, a routine mentor to moms, helping them create daily routines that teach kids about life, that make everything less stressful. And you know one thing that makes life stressful? When you do everything in the house for everyone. That's real stressful. So let's talk about the things that you can do subconsciously, not really on purpose, but that actually make it to where the kids are like, nah, I'm gonna pass. I'm gonna pass on chores. No thanks. We're not having any of that. Oh no. First barrier to your kids being excited and willing, or even just get along without complaining doing chores, is that you don't ask them enough. So if you don't ask your kids to contribute regularly in a normal way, it always feels like this extra. It always feels like, oh, what? I'm not really used to that. Sorry, no, I was busy over here playing. So we actually have to ask our kids with regularity so they get used to it, because when they get used to something, when it becomes routine, I'm all about those routines. When it becomes routine, your kids are more likely to just go along with it. They pass over that resistance, that part of them that's like, I know, no, and they're like, this is just something I do. It's kind of like getting up for school every day, maybe. It's not like you think, I love this, but you just kind of like, this is what we do, and you get over it and do it. So you need to be asking your kids, or expecting them, asking and expecting them to contribute. And it needs to be regular enough that they're used to it. You don't want every time you're like, hey kids, come over here, we're going to do the bathroom, clean our rooms, clean the floor, whatever, them to be like, what? You never ask me, like it's some big ask out of the blue. We don't want that. We want it to be regular enough that they're just used to it, and that we break down this resistance, because the resistance is a big piece, even for adults, of what makes it hard for us to get on with our chores or our responsibilities. We feel this resistance. It's like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And so the more they kind of get used to helping and doing, the more it just becomes regular, and they're not driven by their emotions. It's like, I can't do the dishes this week. Like, I'm just overwhelmed. Yeah, we all are, right? And maybe we let them go a night or two, but as adults, we have learned to just get on with it and do it anyway. And this is why regularly asking our kids to help, where it's not gonna feel icky, it's just gonna feel normal, gets them in the habit, and they're less resistant. The second thing that's a barrier to having your kids help you with the chores is that if they just refuse to do them, nothing happens. So there's no incentive for the kids to do anything they don't wanna do, because you don't do anything. So this gotta change. This has gotta change. Now, the kids can be sly about this. This can manifest in some different ways. For some, they're just like, no, and they might wanna run away. This is probably a sign that they are not used to having boundaries at any other part of the day. So that would be where I would start with that. Some kids go, really, I gotta go to the bathroom. Out of my 5, I've got one who has to go to the bathroom. It's so uncanny when he has to go to the bathroom. The kid has some timing. So I have to be like, go to the bathroom before chores start, because I know otherwise you're gonna let all your siblings do it because you were sitting in the bathroom. And then some kids whine and fuss, and then they just, you lose the will to live, and then you're just like, forget it. No. So what you need to do is you need to bake in with the rule, the consequence of the loss of privilege, or whatever it is. You just bake it in. We're gonna do these chores, and then we're gonna do this. So therefore, if you don't do them, you don't get to do this. You're not making up random. It's not like you didn't do it 100 sit-ups. Like, no, you just bake the consequence into the rule. This is what we're doing. This is what happens if we don't. Or conversely, this is what we're doing. This is what happens if we do. The vast majority of the time, you don't have to use this, okay? So you don't have to feel like you're like this strict disciplinarian. I have a whole podcast on the difference between being strict and between being mean. By the way, they're not the same thing. But you need to have it baked in so they realize this is something that they have to do, and they get used to it, and then you don't even need to mention these things. But if nothing happens when you tell your kids to do chores, then they're gonna stop doing them. The third barrier to getting your kids helping out around the house and doing chores is that you don't have the right tools. You don't have them organized in a way that makes it easy. So things like gloves, non-toxic cleaners, just having the tools for the job in an easy place for the kids to find them. They know where they are, they know everything that they need to get the job done. If they're little ones and you're wanting them to help more, then you probably need some size appropriate tools for the job. Like I know sometimes my kids when they were little, I'd be like, get the broom and the dustpan, and they would just have trouble doing it. I had to help them because they didn't, it was just too big, it was oversized. So depending on your kid's age, you want to make sure whatever you want them to do, they have the tools to do it and they know how to do it. So it can feel overwhelming. Certain personalities don't care. They'll jump in like a bull in the china shop. They'll do it. They'll do a half, not that great of a job, and they'll be like, it's fine. But some kids will feel overwhelmed. I don't know how to do it. I don't know what to do first. It's just so much. And so you want to make sure that you're teaching your kids exactly what they need to do to get the job done well. I have a firm memory of being in the bathroom with the kids over a toilet, everybody watching. This is how you clean a toilet, kids. This is what you gotta do. I have a brand new freebie that I just made that is 3 chore routines that you wanna add in your days that makes it go so smoothly. And you can find that linked in the description. The 4th reason your kids are not enthusiastic to helping out with chores and maybe even resistant is that there's no carrot or nugget. That you've disorganized it, that the way the process is working does not incentivize them to want to do anything. It's like they're on their tablet for 2 hours and then you're like, let's get off the tablet and sweep. And they're like, no, I don't want to now. This is the wrong order. The way to fix this is simply that you require the chores before they get to do these other things. So then this builds in motivation. Now some kids just are natural helpers. They're naturally more tidy, they're naturally more clean, they're just less resistant. Some kids are like this, other kids ain't. And if you want to get the other kids on board, which you do, you especially do, you're gonna have to do a little bit more, tricks to get some of these resistant kids on board. You gotta have a carrot or a nugget, and it needs to make sense. So you just need to, and this isn't something that you have to think up randomly every time. It's not like, if you do this, I'll give you a piece of candy. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about ordering your day, ordering the way of life in a way that what's necessary comes first and what's extra comes later. And if they didn't do what's necessary, they don't do what's extra. The 5th and last reason that there's barriers to chores or kids are just not really wanting to help out is that it's just gotten too overwhelming and it just feels like too much. So this is a sign that chores don't happen often enough, that they're not regular and routine enough. I got my chore routines down in the description. And it's just put off until it's some huge thing. Like it's difficult for kids to go into a room and it's like a total hot mess. There's stuff everywhere, there's all over the floor, it's just absolute chaos. And for a mom to be like, clean up, and this feels very overwhelming. It's overwhelming to us. We even want to escape whenever or we rage clean. That's more what I do, that's more my style. I'm a rage cleaner. But if your kids aren't ragey and they're more turn it in on themselves, they're gonna be like, I can't. So this is just what needs to happen in this case is in the moment right then, you can help and say, okay, what all needs to be done? We can put it on a list. You can even put it on individual post-it notes that they can just rip up and throw away after. So it might be like, put all dirty clothes in laundry. Put toys back where they go. Vacuum, clean, bathroom, whatever it is. You can put it on individual notes. That way when they get done, they can rip it up and put it away. And this helps them get through each little task without feeling too overwhelmed. But what you also need to do is make sure, back to one of my points, is you need to get them involved in doing chores more so that it doesn't get so bad that it's overwhelming. And you need to have a little grace if it's super overwhelming and you're wanting them to jump in and say, even sometimes just doing a little bit alongside them, even if you're not doing it all, because some kids, not all kids, some kids will be like, thanks mom, and they're like barely doing anything while you do it. No. But if you just go in and help a little bit, one of my children who has ADHD, if it gets overwhelming, he just can't do it. So if I go in, and even if I'm going slow, picking up a few things, he feels like we're in it together and he'll get motivated. So I hope these things help you realize, that we can get our kids helping out and they don't have to be resistant, and we can break through some of those barriers. You definitely want to check out my next video where I'm talking about tidy routines that you can do throughout the day that keep your house relatively tidy. You definitely want to check that out.